It's the end of the day with Ray. Hello, my friends. Folks, I'm back in the studio. I want to thank all those OEMs that participated in those interviews I did while I was at Print United. I shared those interviews last week. But ladies and gentlemen, I got to ask you a question. Has Fuji gotten your attention? I'll bet you they have. Fujifilm, I believe, is on the way to be the dominant MFP provider to businesses all over the world. They are going to be the MFP that goes into most businesses all over the world. They're going to dominate the space. They're playing chess while a lot of folks are playing checkers. And I believe they do have a strategy. And part of that strategy was getting everybody's attention, and they sure as hell did that last week. They made an announcement that Marco would be a reseller of Fujifilm products here in the United States. We all know that Marco is a mega dealer owned by private equity, a private equity firm called Norwest Capital, which is, by the way, owned by Wells Fargo. And I got to be honest with you, ladies and gentlemen, Norwest Equity Partners has had the Marco company in their portfolio since 2015. And I'm thinking Fujifilm might just buy that whole damn company because I'm thinking Norwest Partners would love to dump it. Now, when I say dump it, they just want to get out of that business. Come on, folks. You know they do. Great opportunity for Fuji. But anyway, right after they announced that Marco is going to be their dealer here in the United States, their first big dealer, Katun announces that they're coming out with an MFP called Arivia. I don't know how you say that, but I'm just going to call it Arivia because I think it's a great name. I mean, I think it could be a tagline for Katun. We've arrived! We finally got our own MFP to go with our toner. And we know that Katun had to do something, right? I mean, Katun's over there selling third-party toner, and third-party toner is getting less and less. Well, they're not selling as much as they used to. The OEMs are cracking down. They're giving better pricing to dealers. Everybody's fighting for that annuity because, I mean, at the end of the day, the MFPs don't mean anything. It's all the annuity from the MFPs. And if people print less every single day, there's less annuity. Therefore, the OEMs really start cracking down on third-party toner. And Katun knew this. So Katun gets together with Fujifilm. First of all, you got to ask yourself a question. How the hell did that even happen? Okay? And then I start thinking about this. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to share some stuff with you today, and I just want you to open your imagination. Open your minds up. Think along with me. Imagine along with me. Because, a lot of times what we imagine, sooner or later, becomes a reality. Because possibilities become probabilities, and probabilities become reality quicker than ever, especially in a disrupted industry. But folks, I think the puzzle pieces are coming together. So without any further ado, I want to jump on the board. I want to share some thoughts with you. The first thing I want to do is yell at Keypoint Intelligence. Shame on you. They still make me sick as a analytical company in our space. Because, there was a day that BLI would have shared the day that Katun came out and said, we have this new product called Arivia. BLI would have said, oh, by the way, the Arivia MFP is made by Fujifilm. They would have done a whole story on it. They had the big Bible they used to give everybody. It would say original OEM, manufacturing OEM, because OEMs always made each other's equipment, not a big secret. For some reason, this is some kind of secret, but everybody knows it's a damn Fujifilm machine. And Fujifilm, I think you should just do a press release to say, this is a Fujifilm machine, because then everybody will know how smart you are. Because what you're doing with Katun, I think, is genius. I mean, think about it. Fujifilm. They can go out and they can get dealers with the Fujifilm product line, right? Like they did with Marco. Well, then they can get Katun to run around to all the little dealers and all the dealers all over the world and say, hey, do you want to sell a new MFP we got? It's called Arivia. And see, Fujifilm, they don't really care if their name's on the machine. They just care that they make the machine in their factory and that machine is delivered to an end user. That's all they care about, and that's what they should care about. And ladies and gentlemen, think about what they just did. They got this company called Katun. And folks, Katun is a small company. Okay? And when I share the numbers, I think some of you are going to be surprised. But Fujifilm, they get together with Katun. What does Katun do? They start recruiting salespeople. And they hire them from Kyocera and Sharp and Ricoh and Konica Minolta and all the people that are leaving Ricoh now, probably going out there filling out applications. And Katun will build this army of salespeople all over the world to go ahead and sell the Fujifilm machine that's called Arivia. This isn't about a new MFP. This is about distribution to an end user from an OEM that understands how to play in a declining marketplace. Congratulations, Fuji. Let's look at this company called Katun. Katun is owned by a company called General Plastics Industrial Company. Their revenue for the first 6 months of this year is $86.4 million total company. Katun's in that number. $86.4 million. Folks, it's crazy, right? I mean, what are they, $170, $180 million a year company? I mean, I had to look at this like 5 times. I said, surely they're bigger than that. No, they're not. Their net income at Katun, first 6 months, $6.4 million. I will say this, they blow Konica Minolta away in operating profit, even though they're only doing $170 million a year. I mean, folks, you all remember, Konica Minolta, where they're at in operating profit and where they've been over the last few years, right? So Katun outperforms Konica Minolta in operating profit. That's fantastic. But folks, there's some rumors out there. So I just want to share these because a lot of times rumors are true, right? Or from the rumor there is some truth. But I heard a rumor that, folks, well, we all know that there's some folks that worked at Konica Minolta that now work at Katun. So that's a fact. We know that. And I'm thinking that maybe these folks that were from Konica Minolta that work at Katun and know other folks at Konica Minolta that don't work there anymore kind of got together and came up with this scheme. And then they went to Fujifilm and they said, hey, we can sell MFPs because we know MFPs. I mean, look at what we did at Konica Minolta. Okay, that's where I got to stop that and say this. Fujifilm, please. Please. Don't get involved with Katun if Katun's going to follow the playbook from Konica Minolta, because we know that Konica Minolta is a train wreck mess. One of the reasons I believe you're going to end up buying them, Fuji. But I don't need to reiterate all the losses that Konica Minolta's had over the years, all the absolute poor decisions I believe they've made over all the years, that whole entire all-covered nonsense and buying up, running out there and grabbing opportunities. Let's get some opportunities and pile them on other opportunities we picked up, even though we haven't executed on any of the other opportunities. Folks, it's almost, well, I don't want to say comical because it is pretty sad, because Konica Minolta, obviously, in my opinion, is going to go away because Fujifilm is going to come in and gobble them up. And folks, here's the deal. A while back, I was in South Africa, and I was on the safari thing, and it just reminded me of the stories we always hear, right? That the lion loves to eat gazelles. And, the lion, he doesn't necessarily want to chase a gazelle all over the landscape before he has lunch. He's kind of looking for the gazelle that's got some, maybe a broken leg or something. And then he's like, oh, I could catch that one. Or maybe like a baby gazelle, a weak gazelle. They're looking for the weak. The lion likes the weak. They run up there and they gobble them up. They have a great lunch. And they didn't have to do a whole lot of running to get it. And I think that's where Fujifilm is. They're the lion. And they're looking for all the weak players. Well, we know that Konica Minolta is the weakest OEM on the planet right now, okay? You've seen the episodes. That's just a fact, okay? I'm not making this up. They're the weakest OEM on the planet. And they've had a terrible, terrible time over these last few years. And quite honestly, they really just need to go away. And I think Fujifilm realizes that. And I do believe that Fujifilm will, in fact, gobble up all of Konica Minolta. Wow. Folks, think about this. When they gobble up all of Konica Minolta, and they got some good, well, the Konica Minolta's got the broken leg. They're the gazelle flopping around, right? I mean, $2.7 million in losses. Their first quarter, right? They're projecting they're going to have 1.1% operating profit this year, like they don't even care. Maybe they know that, hey, it doesn't really matter what we project, because by the time this year's over, Fujifilm is going to already own us. But folks, we got some weak players out there. Another one that's kind of the gazelle, maybe this one's got a, not quite a broken leg, but it's maybe a sprained ankle, is a company called Ricoh, and I believe Ricoh's preparing for a massive impairment charge coming any day now. I'll talk about Ricoh in more depth later this week. But Fujifilm is in an environment where we got some real problems. And they're smart enough to take advantage of those problems, aren't they? Isn't that what you do? Now, I know our industry, we got some folks that think that's mean. If a competitor is really causing havoc to somebody else, oh, that's a mean person because they're a competitor. I think that's really naive. And I'm sure those gazelles with broken legs think the lion, as it bites its head off, is mean, right? But the lion's still getting lunch. Ladies and gentlemen, I want us to think about our industry as a puzzle. And I believe the pieces are falling out of the industry's frame. And I believe the whole entire industry needs to reframe itself and bring new pieces to that puzzle. Because we know that innovation is about a process. It's not about a product, it's about the innovator who changes the process. And the processes in the industry that we all call home, those friends of mine that sell supply and service print equipment, have to do with resellers, end users, and OEMs. And ladies and gentlemen, the bottom line is this. We got a lot of actors in the space right now, and we got a company called Fujifilm. And I believe what Fujifilm is doing is they are going to be the new frame of the industry's puzzle. And they are going to control a whole lot of pieces within that puzzle. And I want to go through these pieces with you a little bit here today. We all know that Konica Minolta, at the end of the day, is a train wreck mess financially. Let's just call it what it is. We also know that Konica Minolta has a major investor, a bank called Masters Trust. That same bank, Masters Trust, has a major investment in Fujifilm. We saw a press release not too long ago where Fujifilm and Konica Minolta were going to come together around supply chain issues. It was nothing about manufacturing and MFP together. It was about supply chain procurement. And then all of a sudden that got put on hold, and I believe it got put on hold because I believe that Fujifilm is in fact going to gobble up all of Konica Minolta. It's coming soon. And think about it, ladies and gentlemen. Konica Minolta has an industrial lens business which fits very well into Fujifilm's camera business. Konica Minolta has a medical business that's been causing all kinds of havoc at Konica Minolta. When Fujifilm buys them, that'll probably just get bankrupted. And Konica Minolta's print business, man, Fujifilm could have a ball with that. So if they buy Konica Minolta, which I really believe they'll do, how does Marco play in that? You know, ladies and gentlemen, a while back I was thinking that Fujifilm would go ahead and do a partnership with Xerox. And Xerox would become the Fujifilm direct arm here in the United States, in Americas, and maybe all over the world. But I'm rethinking that. I'm thinking what Fujifilm is going to do now is they're going to buy Marco from Norwest Equity Partners. Marco's been owned by Norwest Equity Partners since 2015, and I'm telling you, they would have a party at Norwest Equity Capital if Fujifilm bought them. If Fujifilm buys Marco and turns Marco into their direct operation here in the United States, as soon as they gobble up Konica Minolta, they can give Konica Minolta's direct operations to Marco. And Marco can deal with the all-covered mess that Konica Minolta built and all that IT nonsense, and they can decide what they're going to keep and what they're going to get rid of. But Marco's in that space. They understand that space. They could easily absorb the direct operations, making Marco a massive dealer. But ladies and gentlemen, what about Xerox? Nothing. Can you imagine? Xerox is the largest dealer in the world. They're a partner of Fuji. So now Fujifilm's got the largest dealer in the world, Xerox. They got the second largest dealer in the United States now because they got Marco, who just picked up all Konica Minolta direct. And then Fujifilm has all the Konica Minolta dealers as Fujifilm dealers. And the name Konica Minolta goes in the shredder and disappears forever. You also see a logo up there, Sharp. Well, what about Sharp? Well, if you're Fujifilm and you want to dominate business print all over the world, you want to get as many people selling your product as you can, and it doesn't have to have your name on it. We saw where Fujifilm's making the Sharp Big Machine. We know that Sharp was having A4s made by Lexmark at one point in time. Hopefully they're not still doing that crap with 9-star. But folks, here's the reality. Maybe Fujifilm makes all the Sharp machines. Boy, it's getting pretty good, isn't it? So you got Fujifilm, they buy Konica, they give the direct operations to Marco. They have all the dealers selling Fujifilm products that were Konica dealers. They got Xerox out there selling Fujifilm products. They got Sharp out there selling Fujifilm products. And don't forget about Katun. Now, I know Katun's a little guy, but at the end of the day, I mean, Katun's going to pick up all these reps that are getting fired from all the other OEMs. They're going to run around and they're going to sell Fujifilm products. They're going to sign up all the little dealers. And then eventually Fujifilm, they'll start doing deals with CDW and TD Senix. Because they want to do what? They want to dominate business printing all over the world. They want to create the new frame for the industry. Ladies and gentlemen, a lot of the things I said here are not far-fetched. And possibilities become probabilities. And probabilities become reality quicker than ever. Ladies and gentlemen, we got some weak links in our industry. Let's just talk about these weak links. And I want you to think about Fujifilm, this powerful company that knows how to make money, that has a strategy, that has finally got our industry's attention. And more importantly, now they're going to get the end user's attention. But think about the players that are left. Think about these weak links. Konica Minolta, let's just put a big X through them because I think that's where that's headed. Lexmark, I got an episode coming up later this week. There's a rumor out there they're for sale. There's a book out there on them. Folks, I'll share that in a separate episode, but obviously completely wink. A weak link. I mean, seriously. Owned by the Chinese Communist Party. Their owners are banned by slave labor. This whole thing's nonsense with Lexmark. They should have went away a long time ago. Ricoh. You know, Ricoh is almost getting comical. And I'll do a separate episode on them this week too, but Ricoh, you know, we want to get into digital transfer. We're a digital services company. Remember when they did that last time? Their stock went up. The media, outside of our industry, because our industry's media, they're completely useless, but outside our industry's media where they were talking about how Konica was getting out of, or Ricoh was getting out of print, Ricoh's getting out of print, and then Ricoh had to run around. They went on the show with a guy with a hat, you know. I mean, this time they'll probably show up on the Sinatra show, who knows, and say, oh, wait a minute, A3 is important to us. I mean, they did say they laid off 2,000 people, and as I put in my little teaser for this week's episode, I'm hoping the first people that got fired at Ricoh, because I think it would be fair, are all the people that ran around and told the whole world they made a mistake when they said they wanted to be a digital services company a couple of years ago. All those people should get fired, because obviously they didn't get it. Because if they would have stayed focused on that, they would be a digital services company today, and they wouldn't be so stressed out about print, right? Our friends over at Brother, ladies and gentlemen, let's be honest. You know, I'm going to cross them off as a real, they're not a real major player in the business space, and that's just the way I see it. You know, look, they have the workhorse product. They could come out. They could have really went after Lexmark. They didn't really do it. They're really, really good, and you got to give them this. They're huge in the Soho space. I mean, quite honestly, they got a $3 billion business in the Soho space, but that's where they're going to stay. They're not going to get into business printing and replace all the A3s with the workhorse A4 Brother machine. It's not going to happen. I think Fuji will build a big enough platform that Brother will struggle to compete in that arena. But like I said, give Brother their dues. They do have a massive business in the Soho space. I just don't think they're going to be able to get there in the business space. But ladies and gentlemen, that's where we are today. And the Fuji world is all around laser. Because Fujifilm, they make a lot of money with laser, right? I don't think they're ready to convert the laser to ink. We do have some folks that love ink. We got our friends at Epson. There's an episode about them tomorrow, buying Fiery. That will be determined to be the stupidest investment any company ever made. I'll talk about that tomorrow. But Epson loves ink, Rizzo loves ink, Kyocera loves ink. You'll notice that Kyocera wasn't in the frame for Fujifilm, because they're not going to be in that frame. They might be in that frame if Fujifilm wakes up one day and says, you know what, maybe we should be selling that inkjet product in the production space that Kyocera has. You know, maybe we should do something with Rizzo on their inkjet and put that into our distribution. That could happen. But at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to change from a laser-based world, from a laser-based puzzle that I believe Fujifilm will definitely frame and own, to an inkjet puzzle, and that day is coming. You'll notice there's an OEM I didn't talk about here today, and that's Canon. And I don't think Fujifilm really gives a crap about Canon. Fujifilm's hoping that Canon will just maintain its relationship with HP, and good luck to Canon, because Fujifilm will definitely come after them as they start to dominate the landscape of business print. There was quite a bit in today's episode, but again, ladies and gentlemen, possibilities become probabilities, and probabilities become reality quicker than ever, and everybody watching me knows this. Status quo is the killer of all that'll be invented. Don't get stuck in status quo, and I'll see you all tomorrow.